record. There you go. Are we ready to go, Carole?
Hi, go on then.
Oh, go on then. So yes, this project, this is the second in the series of sessions that we're doing, and today is obviously with Carole, who's going to talk us through some sculpture work and how to sculpture with air drying clay and wax, but also about yoga and how it helps her with her movement, which as a COVID survivor, I do also struggle with movement, and so I'll find it really interesting. But yeah, we'd like to hear about anybody else's experiences. Anything else we need to say, Carole?
Well, yeah, I mean, if anybody, as I go along and anybody can join in, then it'd be lovely to have a response. So, you know, you might want to unmute yourself and have a word. But this project today is how I fell. And I don't know how many people have actually fallen with either the condition that they've got. I mean, I've got a neurological condition called dystonia, which over 70,000 people in this country have, and nobody knows about it, and you don't know about it until you get it. And then you realise that actually a lot of the symptoms are very similar, I find, to Mandy's long COVID symptoms, which I think Mandy's just going to like maybe go through what they are. And then people can say, I mean, they may not have a neurological condition, but they have some of those symptoms. It may be ME, MS, it may be, you know, but we can relate to some of the things that you've been experiencing, Mandy, as a person who suffered very badly from COVID.
Yeah, I think one of the things that when I first came round from the coma was that I hadn't got any use of my arms and legs or speech or anything like that, and my physio was trying to get me to learn me to walk with a Zimmer frame, but I said it feels like my knees are on backwards and they're back to front, and I can't walk. They don't work. So that, yeah, that was a struggle. But eventually they did start to work, but it was like the hand-eye coordination that I couldn't quite get, like my hands and my eyes to work at the same time.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, here she is.
Difficulty.
You just got to move that like that. Got it.
You got it?
Got it. There you go.
Thank you, my darling.
And also we said about, Carole and I were discussing earlier on about speech and how you just get tired of talking, really, and you can't find the right words, or you forget the words, or you slur the words and you sound like you're drunk. So there are a lot of similar symptoms.
Yeah.
I think the main one for me at the moment is the overall exhaustion. It's just beyond exhausted sometimes.
It's incredible fatigue, isn't it?
It is.
I can't quite explain that, and it's the only thing to do is actually go to bed, isn't it?
It is. Oh, I've just had a message. Someone's got no sound. Just talk amongst yourselves while I sort that out for us.
So I'm just going to show you the thing that's helped me. I've had deep brain stimulation 10 years ago, and my dystonia symptoms had become so bad that I couldn't really get off the floor, because I felt as if the weight of gravity was so great that I had to really, really struggle to stand up. And Ross, hello Ross, who's here, helped me through this because she was fantastic masseur, and I'm not sure if you're still doing that at all.
No, not anymore, I'm afraid.
No, you're running and doing lots of really wonderful other things.
That's
Lovely.
it.
But so Ross was helping me, you know, and trying to get my body centered, but there was nothing that was working. Medication, I had supports, I had a wheelchair at one stage, and it was just like really everything was going downhill, and I couldn't see a way forward. And I think that must be how also a lot of COVID sufferers might think that there's no way forward. For me, there was this, which is deep brain stimulation. So what I had done was had a brain operation so that some wires were put into my head, 2 electrodes in the basal ganglia area in my central brain. It was all a bit iffy. I wasn't very confident about it. And my 3 girls were just all going through their A levels and O levels and so on. So it was a difficult time. I couldn't make things. I couldn't create. It was all about me. And this is a sculpture that is an older sculpture, but it's a catatonic. So that's how I felt. I just wanted to not be part of the world, really, because I felt embarrassed about this condition, and I didn't want to look that way, feel that way, be that way. It wasn't who I felt I was. So in a way, clay did help me at that point to just, you know, that's how I felt. I didn't want to be part of the world. Is it possible? Can you see that there as I'm moving that around? This lady. So
put it towards yourself, Carole. We can see it better then.
I'm putting it nearer, aren't
That's
I?
it. Yes.
Yeah. So that was how I'm feeling, and I do still feel like that. We all do anyway. And I think that there are times that you want to get out into the world, and other times that, as Mandy said, that you really find, you know, life is much more difficult, and you just pop that. That's quite heavy. So what helped me was this brain operation. I've got a wire coming down here to the chest area there, and in there's a brain pacemaker. So it's like a heart pacemaker, but for the brain, which is pretty clever. But that operation, it's been around for 20 years now, and I think that they can do more with like laser work, and it's, you know, it's sort of non-invasive. But mine was very invasive and very worrying, and but it was wonderful. So I would attach myself to. I charge myself up, and actually I've got to have a new one put in because I've had this done 10 years now. So that would go into there, and then that charges me up. So I charge up a pacemaker. Oh, hang on. I don't plug myself into the plug like a set of fairy lights because it might be a bit iffy. So what happens is that is the charger. So I would charge that up from the plug. And then when that light comes on green, I know that's full of energy. And then I put that into there, into here. So I know that energy from there is going to go into me. And we don't know why it works, but the energy, the electrical energy from that does something in the brain that distracts the dystonia that is making you neurologically unable to function, and somehow, you know, you're able to carry on. So how I felt is actually, it's about gravity, isn't it? And it's about me actually being able to get up off the floor like Lazarus and you know, and actually move around and lead a relatively normal life. So that has been incredibly helpful for anybody out there. Is anybody there with dystonia? No, because there were a couple of people who were going to join us today with dystonia. So that's that. And so, yeah, so another thing that we were speaking about, Mandy, was that our voice sometimes goes, doesn't it? So if my voice goes, just bear with, and then it usually comes back again. It's usually when I'm a bit stressed or tired. So
Can you say about how you did fall? Kat?
yeah, I'm just looking how I fell. So Jenny was with me on one occasion when I fell, and I just wondered, because I'm just thinking about, I've got a sculpture here, and that's Icarus falling, and he's made of wax. And I can see, and he's got wings, and like Icarus, I fell, and I don't know how I fell, but I fell to one side, didn't I? But if I'd had a little picture of me falling, which you would have seen, Jenny, how did it look to you when you were at my side?
Well, it was probably the most graceful fall I've ever seen. It was literally like that. And then because we were on a beach and there was big rocks and we were actually on stony ground, the fear was that that she'd knock her head. And it was almost as if she was going down in slow motion. And I kept thinking, don't hit your head, don't hit your head, don't hit your head. And it seemed to take forever before her head got to the ground. But I think she just managed to miss a big rock, because that was the big fear with the probes in her head. And anyway, we established that she was okay, and just gave her a minute or two to get back up. But the best thing of all is that we'd been to buy an ice cream, and she had her ice cream in her hand, and her ice cream was still intact.
So
And she wouldn't get up until she'd eaten her ice cream. So we knew she was okay.
you've got to get your priorities right, haven't you?
You've got to get your priorities right.
It was like
An ice cream. I'm saving my ice cream.
And it was funny though, because I remember people coming and saying, "Are you all right?" And I looked like I was just sat, but I felt as if I needed the sugar straight away. I just thought, I can't let that ice cream, because I really need that. I need that sugar, and it did actually help me. But yeah. So thank you for that. But sometimes if you fall, it can be. Mandy, when you fell, what was it?
Oh, I just want to say, Julie has got dystonia from having Parkinson's. You can see Julie.
Oh, Julie. Hello, Julie. Yes. Oh,
Yes.
right. A mixture of the Parkinson's and dystonia.
Dystonia. Yeah.
Hello. Yes. Well, we will want to. Did you fall at all? Have you fallen at all?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, fallen off the toilet. Very, very dignified.
Yeah. Was somebody there to help you, or?
Yeah, I think my son was here. But I'm hoping to be assessed for the DBS that you've had. So I'm
great.
interested in that as well. So that's really interesting.
Yes. Well, I would recommend it because it's given me my life back. I mean, I'm not perfect, but then none of us are. So, I think that, I still have lots of problems that, I just think mobility, you've just got to keep working on, and that's where my yoga has helped me.
Yeah, I used to do yoga a lot, and I'm a ceramicist as well.
You? Oh, so are you continuing to work with clay? And
I can't very much because of the pain.
No.
I get so much pain and fatigue.
Yeah, I think also it's finding ways, and we'll look at those in a minute, of finding that you can make things with, where you're not tiring your body too much.
Yeah,
because
that'd be
it's heavy, isn't it? But if you make smaller things, but wax is nice to use. But I'll show you that in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Mandy, so were you going?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Well, I've fallen over a few times. I think one of my funniest ones. Well, I've got two funny ones actually. When I was in hospital, I just fell out of bed like a slinky going down the stairs. It was just like I couldn't stop myself. I just like slithered. And again, it was embarrassing because I was in a ward full of people, and this is when my knees were on back to front and I couldn't stand up, so I had to be hoisted very well, it wasn't elegant. It wasn't an elegant fall like yours, Carol. It was it was embarrassing. And I also fell into the rose bush.
Oh, painful.
Yeah, I just sort of lost balance and fell, and because I'd torn the ligaments in my shoulder, I couldn't stop myself from falling, and ended up looking like a dying fly in the rose bush.
Oh.
And it was, I just thought, oh, I hope nobody saw that. I really do hope nobody saw me go, because it wasn't the most elegant of looks, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's the being out of control, isn't it?
it is. It is.
Losing independence because of that, and you feel as if you've got to be with somebody else. I don't know, Julie, if you feel as if when you go out, do you have to be with someone, or can you go out on your own? Have you?
No, I generally go out with someone. Yeah, I was in a wheelchair for about 3 months as well, and in hospital for 3 weeks with the pain. Yeah. The dystonia is horrible. I get really bad dystonia all down one side, all my right side.
Right side, yeah. Mine tends to be right side. So yeah, it's not easy, is it? And also the other thing is the fuzzy headedness that I know that Mandy.
Yeah.
The brain fog.
Brain fog. Yeah. Brain fog.
Brain fog.
Does anybody else get that? Do you get that, Jenny? With because I know that you have it's not Emmy. It's this
Fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sort of distanty sort of feeling. You can't always sort of join in as you want to. Does anybody else have that sort of feeling? Yeah. Is that Kay? Yeah.
It's Kanj.
Kanj. I think I met you once at a workshop.
Yes, I did, Carol.
Oh.
Mine is nothing, like what all of you are going through. Mine is menopause. Every day is pretty much, let's break through this fog.
Right.
Life is incredibly foggy all the time. And it's having to sort of find ways to push through it on a daily basis. It's like pushing through, let's shift it enough to stick my head through and see what the landscape looks like.
Right.
So completely different, but I'm sure some of you might be able to relate to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else got anything to say on that one?
Yeah, definitely. You just don't know how you're going to be until you open your eyes that day, and we try to get out of bed and then take it from there, really. But Kanj, have you found that it's affected your way of thinking about how to be creative?
I've had this for 9 years, Mandy, so
yeah,
it's a long time, and I've always sort of tried to think, okay, it's not going away. I'm a creative, that's how I am. How do I still do things which are exhausting myself? And like you said, you guys have valid sort of reasons for feeling what you do. Mine is menopause, and it's sort of it's neither here nor there. It's menopause, well, you'll get over it, you'll be fine, honey. But actually no, 9 years is one heck of a marathon. I have to create. Yeah. That's the one thing that gets me through it, through the fog. If I haven't created, it seems like the rest of the day ends up being pointless. When I create, I seem to forget. Actually, I have brain fog. I can't remember stuff. I've forgotten half of the things, or I haven't wanted to speak to people or engage with, I tend to forget all of that. So what I'm trying to say is I have to create. But I found things that are less exhausting to create. Like, for example, watercolor. You can sit down and gently paint anywhere you are. So those are the kind of things I have tended to use to make life a little bit easier, but still be creative at the same time. So it's a little valve that releases, all those negative emotions in a way. And creativity is the key for me.
That's brilliant that it's almost like you've got to step outside yourself and acknowledge, but you shouldn't detract because there are other people with other things from your own experience, because that's affected. Obviously, it's really important to you and to very many other women, actually, isn't it? So, but that's really useful to know that you feel the same, that you want to, if you focus and you're creative, in whatever form, but if it's a form that makes you able to express yourself, and you using watercolor, that's a wonderful thing. I did come across this on the it's just a notebook, but I really like what it says at the front of it, and it's not easy to read, so I'll read it. And it just says, "I thought about it in my head, and I felt it in my heart, and I longed for it to happen with all of my body and soul, but I made it with my hands." So if you can express yourself using your hands, I think that it can be such a lovely thing, however small, and it might just be for you, or a little present, or it doesn't have to be for a big exhibition or anything like that. I think it's, if you can express with your hands, then that's a wonderful thing. I'm going to just read just a little bit about this Icarus fella, and because it's the fall of Icarus, and Peter Bruegel did this wonderful painting. Is anybody familiar with Bruegel's painting of Icarus? Yeah, Ross is, yeah. So I'll just read what it says quickly, because it says Bruegel's painting is based on the ancient Greek myth of the master craftsman Daedalus and his son Icarus. And the two men were imprisoned by Minos, the king of Crete. And they escaped by making wings out of wax feathers and flying away. Where is he? Where is he? Oh, Anne-Marie, he's flying. He's flying in. Ooh. Right. And but Icarus, he was so pleased with his ability to fly that he ignored his father's warnings about flying too near to the sun. And the heat melted the wax on his wings, and he fell to his death in the sea. And at first glance, which I'll show you a bit again here, this painting shows a peaceful country scene, and Bruegel has painted Icarus as he disappears into the water. But the fall of Icarus only makes up a small part of this picture. None of the countrymen has even noticed the tragic plunge of Icarus, because he's like the main guy. And we're sometimes the main guy when something really big and really quite awful is happening to us. And it's a bit like when somebody you love dies, and it's like you come out of hospital and the world's carrying on, and you can't quite believe that the world just carries on, because this thing is so big to you, but to the rest of the world, and they simply go on with their work as if nothing has happened. Now, in this picture, it's wonderful, I think, because can you see it? Yeah, look it up anyway if you can't see this clearly. But so it's Peter Bruegel's picture of Icarus. And in fact, can I pass that back to you? Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, I feel like
Icarus here, he's got two little legs just sticking up. That's him. He's got two little legs, and that's all you can see of Icarus. And I think it's hilarious, though, isn't it? Because being human is hilarious and ridiculous and awful and wonderful and all those things. But it's like we are the center of our own universe. We can't help it, because that's what we have, and we have egos. But in the scheme of things, there's all the rest of the world carrying on. And this is this painting of Icarus, and he's just got two little legs sticking up, and he's upside down. So it's like whatever's happening to you, it's sort of all relative, but it's difficult to see that when you're in it, isn't it, Mandy? It's a tricky thing. But I just love that sort of a story. So there's a little bit of I thought I'd do a little demonstration of Icarus, because we're just thinking about falling. We had a lovely walnut tree. You can see that lovely grain of wood. Look at that at the bottom of the garden, and it's just fallen down in all the winds, high winds. Thankfully, my grandchildren weren't under it at the time. But so we've lost our walnut tree, and so this has been cut into a smaller piece, which I think is quite a nice piece. But it's all relative as well, isn't it? What we're suffering, what we experience in life in our own ways is all because relatively that looks like a small bit of wood, really. But to little Icarus here, stand up, Icarus. This is a little figure that actually fell off a German cuckoo clock. It looks more like a footballer. Stand up. I've got those sticky what's-its. Come on. He doesn't want to. So, is he going to?
Carole, that's just our everyday life. We are that little.
I know.
man.
Stand up, stand up. We've got some water. It's the sea. There. So here he is, little Icarus. And he's been flying up to the sun, but he's landed for a bit, hasn't he? And but this is just a little bit of wood. It's not like the big tree, is it? It's all relative. And then this little figure is relative again. Now he's going to fall into the sea. He doesn't want to go now, does he? That's typical man, that is. Hey! Is he gonna sink or is he going to swim? Is he going to sink or is he going to swim? Sink! Swim! Yay! So our Icarus. There he goes, and he's all right. So our Icarus actually saves the day. So sometimes we're in this, we are in a position where we have to go through traumas. And Icarus didn't come out well the other side of his trauma. But we are going to, aren't we, Julie? That's, it's like going forward, we're going to do that. But our experience is really big to us, not as big to other people. That's the nature of human life, isn't it, really? And but I think that you should still share your story. Really important to share your story, whatever that is, and not to keep it to yourself and it become weighty and hard. And you should talk about it if you can. So now what I want to do is move on to, we're talking really about gravity. When we think about how I fell, it's about this amazing way that we can move around and keep upright, like this piece of wood. I mean, we're actually much more stable when we're laying down, aren't we? Or like animals on all fours. So that is a much more stable piece of wood there, because it's down. Like that is less stable, like we are when we're walking. So I think that yoga exercises that you can't do, if you can't do yoga exercises that are standing up, like this piece of wood, we would, and it's not the plank, this one is the cobra, and then we've got the locust here. And I think that what I do every night is try and do yoga exercises, physio exercises that I've been asked to do laying down, so I keep my strength level up and keep my body straight, so that hopefully people don't know. I don't want everybody to know all the time that I've got something wrong with me. I just want to appear as normal as possible. Ha ha. But none of us is normal anyway. What is normal? But I think that doing something, for me, doing these sort of yoga exercises, which are floor-based, which give me, I don't have to concentrate so much on balance. I do find that is a really strengthening thing, so that it's all about core and core strength, and particularly as we get older, to have that core strength and that mobility. And Julie, I know that for me to do if you're thinking you've got one side that doesn't work as well as the other, or you get pain with, I find that doing when you're laid on your back and maybe, you try and move your head as far as you can one way and then the other, and your knees one way. And I don't know, do you do any exercises that might help if you can?
Not really. I should do yoga stretches. I should do some stretches, and I've had a bit of physio, but not much. It just fatigues me so much and puts me in pain that I'm frightened to do it, really.
I think you've got to be really, really gentle. I think even if you could just get down on the floor and just do really just the smallest amount, just on a regular basis. And I find that if I do it at night time when my muscles are warm and my room is warm, that is much more helpful and more flexible then. And I don't do it when you're cold and your body's fighting. It's much, is really of value. So this book, I don't know if anybody recognizes this book. This was published in 1971, but it's great. If you see that in a charity shop, or it's yoga for health. There's some little recipes at the back, but it's just really, really, I just love the simplicity of the diagrams, and it doesn't go into too much depth on the concepts of yoga. It's just like gives you really clear exercises. So if you see that one, I would definitely recommend it, Yoga for Health. And I think I got this from a charity shop all those years ago, and in fact I have seen it there. So that's one I would look at, and maybe just and if you're worried, just maybe have a chat with your doctor. But I know that physio now is I think I had 2 physio sessions, and it's like, oh, you're all right, you can do it on your own. They give you exercises to do, so if you can somehow get the motivation together to do that, then I found that really helpful. Ross, I think that you found a way forward when you there were various things that happened in your life that you won't want to go into now, but I know that you started running, didn't you? Did you?
I did. Yes, I did. Yeah.
What did you find that about running that helped you?
It gave me space. You were looking where you were running all the time, so you could disengage from all the thoughts that you were plagued with. And it definitely made me, my brain sort of clear a lot. And of course you get endorphins released. So you get the benefit of that from doing the exercise, but it was also a sense of achievement. And I think what you've all been saying with your creativity, that sense of achievement, no matter what you're doing. I mean, the watercolor, absolutely, beautiful thing to do. It gives you that special uplift that you need. And it was just time for me. And it was something that I could just open my door and just do. I didn't need to pay a lot of money. I didn't need to go anywhere. And I could just progress very slowly. And then I was fortunate enough that I found a good running club. And then I made, friends, and it progressed from there and ended up doing a marathon, which I never thought in my life I'd run a marathon, having spent 2 years of my life in hospital in a plaster cast when I was first born, and told that I would walk always with a limp if I could walk at all, to do a marathon in a pretty decent time. It was just fantastic. So yeah, it's something I've always clung on to. So as you were saying, even if you can only do a very, very small amount of stretching, it is so beneficial. And if you have a problem with gravity, then as you're saying, lying on the floor, you still get all the benefits, but you've got the safety aspect, and build up very, very, very gradually, but it will help. And a lot of people dismiss physiotherapy and stretching and things like that, because unfortunately it has to be a constant. It's not a 5-minute cure.
And so as you do your yoga every night, you know, it takes a long time to start to see benefits, but there are huge benefits. And I appreciate, you know, a lot of people are in a lot of pain and they won't be able to do very much at all, but absolutely anything that you can do will be of benefit to you. And I'm talking from, you know, all my training in that side of things. So yeah, definitely, that's what I found helped me.
That's brilliant, Ross. That's really, really useful and very inspiring, actually, isn't it? To, you know, start being told you're not even going to walk, and then you win a marathon, you know, and marathon. And it's you know,
especially as it was in later life as well. You know, I mean, it was only 3 years ago. So yeah,
wonderful. And I do think that it's the habit. I think things, if you can get things to be a habit, like getting your watercolors out, or Suzanne, when you tell stories, I don't know how the sequence of events where you know, you're telling a story. What is it? Something that you say, right, I'm going to spend this amount of time organizing that, or is it, how does that work? Just thinking about
sometimes can you hear me? Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Obviously there's more motivation if someone books you to do a gig to work on the story, but I do try and do something with storytelling every day. Even if I'm not working on something, I'll either be researching something or occasionally going for a walk, and then a story will just pop out and I start, you know, telling it to the trees or the road or whatever. So yeah, I try to do something story-wise each day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
keeps the brain going, you know, keeps the flow kind of thing.
So it's the same in a very different form, isn't it? But you know, it's the same. Christine, have you got anything to tell us along those lines? Okay, so what we're going to do is just look at gravity here, because there's one or two sculptures that give the idea of movement against this sense of gravity. So wood, wire, wood, just like that. All right, ready. I just love that. Ah, there you've got a sculpture. That's £3,000, please. So, I mean, all you've got to do to make a sculpture that will stand is armature. So this is a piece of wood with a roll of wire. So, and this roll of wire is it's like an aluminium-y wire, but you can really do what you want with it. It's so lovely and bendy. You can make it into an animal, a person. You could do whatever you want with it, but it defies gravity. Look at that. It's lovely. And then you attach that wire securely, because I've got a sculpture which I was going to bring today and I couldn't because it fell over. And And I thought, no, I'm not going to carry that great big heavy sculpture because it's no good, because I didn't attach it in the first place. So all you would need is 2 tacks. And they're the what do you call them, Anne-Marie? They're shaped like that. They're shaped like a horseshoe. A little hook. Sandra, what?
The staples. They're like
staples. Except round.
Yeah, and you can hammer them in.
Oh, you're wonderfully practical. So, so that is really nice and secure, hopefully. So if I want to add to that, so I want to, I don't know, let's say an abstract sculpture today, shall we? So we'll just keep this loose. So I've got some wax. Oh, I've got some warmer here. this is brown wax. And you send off I send off for most of my the things that I make. It's called flints, and it's theatrical chandlers. In fact, Jenny, you might be interested in that, because making things for your talent theatre company, and I know that you already have great ideas and make things, but flints have all sorts of stuff, art things like wax. And this is where I got this as well. And I do have their website if you want it. But you just melt this wax and it's like chocolate. In fact, it looks very edible. And what you can do is you can
Carole,
yeah.
Can you tell people, if they haven't got that kind of wax, what other wax you use that you can find in the fridge?
Oh, yes. Cheese. Baby Bell. Thank you, Mandy. I'd forgotten about that. So you can have Baby Bell. Yes, because we were doing some little projects using, so you have to eat lots of cheese, which isn't too bad a thing to ask, is it? So, and it's free because it goes round it. So you get your red and your green, don't you? So very festive, actually. So, but you can only, unless you eat an awful lot of cheese, you wouldn't be able to cover this, would you? So if you want a bigger sculpture, you can, and so this just sticks to your armature. So you can take it off in like little bits as you go, or big bit, and build that up. So you end up with something. Where's my wax one gone, Anne-Marie? Oh, it's here, it's here, it's here. So that, I think that defies gravity quite nicely, and it relates to a yoga pose, and you can move it around. It has got armature. In fact, the armature in this one is, you know, those plastic flowers that you can buy in a charity shop, and they're all looking a bit manky, but it's the wire inside, you know, the flower. So you get to cut the flower off, and you've got a really good free or cheap armature, and you do the same. So you would put the staple base on, make it nice and strong at the bottom, and then make it into a shape, whatever that shape would be. You might want to look at a yoga book, and that's, I think, where I got one of the poses. And this is like the warrior pose, not quite the warrior pose, but nearly on the way to being the warrior pose, because it's like, oh, yes. So looking that way. And he bends about a bit, because sometimes I put him a bit like Icarus, too near the radiator, and he starts to go. So I have to stand him up, and he makes or her up and go into a different pose. So that is made of that the brown wax, and the armature being a flower that is attached to a piece of wood with the staple. So anybody can have a go at that, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't go right. The one that I didn't bring today didn't go right, that keeps falling over, and you just have a go. It's playing, isn't it, really? It's allowing yourself to play. It's a good thing to do, to play. Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's slightly unstable, slightly unstable. And so this, ooh, I'm going to need more cake for energy, aren't I? So this one is made of bronze, but this was made. Thank you. Just for energy at the moment. So this sculpture, she's trying to throw off the weight of gravity and of menopausal symptoms and of dystonia and COVID, and just like, go away, bugger off, you know, just go. And so this was made with the wax, like these pieces of wax. The wax comes in either a slab or a block, and you can use your, thank you, ready for a minute, yeah, toolkit like you would for clay. So it's quite handy to have a sort of toolkit. So you've got your wire that you can cut through the clay or wax. I find just cutting with a knife actually with the wax. So if you've got a pottery toolkit, which would have a potter's rib, modelling tool, ribbon tool, sponge, needle tool, loop tool, metal scraper, that's really good for clay, that one. You can get a set of those. So I don't think that was the works, worth a look. But anyway, in an art shop or again, maybe Flint's. I think that's handy for any sculpture really. And I was thinking that that maybe, you know, the pieces of green stuff that you use for flower arranging.
Oasis.
Oasis. Yes. We're not going to play it, are we? No. So you could try and carve that. I would just be worried about breathing it in. I'm not quite sure what it's made of, those oases, but I thought they're just a perfect lightweight shape. Like for Julie, if you had a nice sharp knife or one of these sort of tools and you wanted to have a go at a sculpture, a lightweight sculpture, those oases that are that sort of shape and size, they'd be really worth a go. So I'm going to have a go at that, and you might want to go at that. Maybe we need our mask on when we're sewing it up, just in case, because we don't know what's in it. But I think that would be worth exploring because anything that pulls on your shoulder, I know is, you know, it's going to be unpleasant, but something lightweight and that you can put to one side to create something that would demonstrate possibly how you're feeling. But this weighs a ton actually to lift now, but I think that she sort of depicts that feeling of defying gravity. So I'm going to put her down there for now.
Oh, you're all right.
Yeah. Right, so we've looked at yoga, we've looked at wax, and so the next thing that we might want to do is we've got another.
Oh, just let me stick my head in. Ooh. And I've just put the link on the Facebook page for Flint's, which is where Carole gets the wax from. So if you want to see where it is, it's on, what's the page called, Mandy? Creativity after C19, is it?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute then. Yeah, creativity after C19.
So that information's on the Facebook page, and I'm also going to put the picture of Icarus as well now.
Oh, well done.
Okay.
Well done. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Oh, she's a star. Right. So this was the armature, very freely done. Another sort of wire to the aluminium wire that I just showed you earlier on. But again, stapled down, and this is a really long loop. And I thought, should I cut it and then have a play with it? But in fact, I just played with it, and I quite like it as a, it's been in the car and in the basket and things, but just as one piece, that's one piece, and then you can just turn it round and play. And this idea of falling, a woman falling or defying gravity, and coming up, what shape do you want it to be in? Doing a yoga pose perhaps. So it's quite nice wire. There's different sorts, and if you look in the Flint's book, you know, you'll see the different sorts to play with. And maybe just get a roll of each and have a little play. But she's you
know what gauge that wire is, Carole? Because some can be quite thick, can't it, to be difficult?
You'll say, and there's pictures
right
in the catalogue. It's quite a thick catalogue. It's worth looking at. And as I say, Jenny, I think that, you know, with your and if you're doing theatrical theatre productions, or you just enjoy making anyway or playing, it's just worth getting. This one is like it's got a coating. I've got one that I sent for, and it's just wire, and it's too hard. You want a softer, more manipulative one, and this is nice and soft, as is this this aluminium. That's beautiful, but it's a bigger, isn't it? It's a bigger, wider piece. But if you find what suits you, you know. But that you would need some wire cutters as well, because even though I'd used one whole wire for that, you might not want to. You might want to do something smaller. My friend in Yorkshire was going to come today, and I don't think she's there. I can't see her, but she's just done a lovely dog, and it's for another project that I'm doing, which is for Arts Council England, and it's about creativity and well-being. And she wanted to do, it's called Elements, and so look out for that, Elements. And she wanted to do something about depression, and well, part of Elements is it's wind, air, fire, water, spirit. But because she's had to deal quite a lot with, she doesn't have depression, but like people around her, very close, have depression because of illness. And she wanted to depict the black dog, a bit like an Albert, you know, the black dog that Churchill had, this black dog, you know, and you have days where you just feel as if you've got this black dog, and it's not the dog's fault, but, you know, it's just, and she wanted to make it a felt. So she's made this wonderful black dog, but she had to get the armature right. So I think her black dog is about 7 inches high, which would probably be about that, wouldn't it? Let's stand her up a minute. And so it took her a while to get the armature right, and she wasn't happy with the armature. She put the felt on, she needle felted this dog, wonderful. But because she'd done the armature not as she wanted, she had to sort of take it apart. But that's what made it stronger. You know, the image is really strong now because the dog is really strong. And so that's a depiction. So you've got an artistic depiction that has sort of grown from something, a basic armature, which you can play with, you know, and the legs, just getting the legs right and the head, and how and looking, it makes you look. So I could, when I was with her one day and she was looking at this dog walking, and I could see that she was looking at this dog to see how its back legs went, you know, and I said, oh, I saw you looking at that dog. So I think that, oh, get off, he's catching my hair. It just it focuses you making, and it also, it just puts you in touch with that wonderful creativity that sort of takes you out of yourself. And it helps you go forward because it makes you feel better. It takes you out, you know, like Icarus, we've got this whole world going on, and sometimes when you're dealing with something so difficult, like Julie, you are at the moment as well, and Mandy, that you've just got to sometimes focus on something else other than yourself, because it's all too much, isn't it? It's just so hard. And so take it away somewhere. So what we can do with this one is add a bit of clay. Now I've got, oh, look at that lovely bit of clay. This is air dried clay. So it means that you don't put it in a kiln. I haven't got a kiln. I'd like a kiln, but I don't have one. And you have to make sure that you cover it when you finish using it, because I've left a bit not covered fully with plastic, and it just dries and you have to throw it away. So it's a complete waste. So when you get a bag of air dried clay, which again, good old Flints, you can get, it's wonderful stuff, because you can get your armature to how you want it. So with this, I'm going to go for the fallen gravity sort of an idea. How are we doing for time?
1 minute to 12.
Oh,
Talk quick.
So I'm just going to show you. So you can just take little bits of this like you do with the wax. And this, really, I want to be a skirt. So this is going to be a block. So I would roll that out further and I would wrap that round to make a skirt. And that would actually strengthen so that this bottom bit. So that would all be rolled out and a lot thinner, and I'd create a sort of skirt effect, or maybe do a ribbon around. So it was in that decorative way and follow the idea of the wire. And then I would start to maybe build up along here using these little bits of clay, and then, you know, getting, and that sticks beautifully to the wire. So you would carry on doing that until you start to come to, and if it's something you don't like, you can bend it, you can still bend it when it's got the here on, as long as you remember, as I say, to cover it over. When you're tired, you've done enough, you can just cover it with plastic bags and then go back to it. It's not something you don't like have to knock out a sculpture in, you know, in a certain amount of time. You can do it at your will, at your leisure, and with the amount of energy that you've got at any given time. So you would just keep using this clay, and then when you want to make it harder, because you can't put it in it's air dried, so you don't have a kiln to put it in. You can buy it's a packet. Oh, got it. Thank you. And this is hardener. So you mix this with water, and it gives you the instructions, and it's like a funny green color. And you dry. So it says you whisk 62 grams of hardener green powder into very hot water, stirring, and then you coat dry new clay models with one or a succession of coats. Now, it's not going to be like something that's been in a kiln, but you can certainly strengthen the thing that you've made, and it will look like, and to all account, you know, be a workable piece of creative clay work. And so things that I've made in the past, I've just let it dry and then put another layer on, then another layer on. So, and it will actually go, it's better if you want to decorate it, maybe to put a few layers on and then do your decoration or colour and add that maybe at the end. So you've got your air dried clay, you keep it covered as you work it so it doesn't dry out. When it does dry out, when you're ready to dry it out and add that. Yeah, so that's that. I think we're coming to a close. I think we've been through most of the things that we need to. Is there any questions? Oh no, there's another thing actually. Again, Julie. This would be really good for you because it's so lightweight. This is Veriform. Now, where's Sandra? Where's she gone? Has she gone?
Yeah, Sandra's had to go.
Oh, this is Veriform, and Veriform is a wonderfully light substance. And again, it's VARAFORM, and it's like paper. But when you heat it, it melts into the shape that you want it to go to. So if, for instance, I wanted to make this, cover that figure with the Veriform, I could cut a piece of this Veriform and lay it over if I wanted to do that skirt, and I would do it with a hairdryer on really hot, and it would melt into the other piece that I put it on. So for instance, I'm playing with making a little sort of Veriform pot at the moment, and just seeing if it will work and doing layers, but I see no ship. And so you can actually use this, and again, it's so light that could be a sculpture. You could just cut it into the shape that you wanted to, figuratively.
Carol, last year there was a project down in Cornwall, and they used this Veriform to make headdresses for the wild swimming and the open water swimming people. And I'll try and find a picture. It was absolutely fabulous.
Lovely. But it's really just so lovely, because all you need is the roll of it, a pair of scissors, hairdryer. You don't even need an armature, but you can use like a bowl. I just used a bowl, and I'm just sort of experimenting. I don't know if it'll work out. I might just go back to clay or wax, maybe clay, to do this this other thing. But it's lovely, lovely stuff. So I think that's covered most of the materials.
Carol,
I'm in the background. Veriform, you can buy it from Flint.
Yeah,
as well,
again, and you get a roll.
Yes.
And there are two
Yeah.
different
Sorry,
sorts.
Andy.
There's the sort that's like a just ordinary. It's like a thick paper, but it's got like a glue on it. So when you add the heat, then it has the ability to melt. But if you overheat it, you just got to experiment. It can become too tacky. But you can do all sorts of things with that. And the second Veriform, which is really good, and it's stronger, and it's like webbing. So if you did get a Flint's catalogue, and you'd see it's like a webbing, but you can do quite big figures or like heads, and then put tissue over. You know, again, from Jenny, from a theatrical point of view, Veriform it's just a really good one. I know you were using those lovely hats that you did for the pantomime. Oh no, you didn't. They, you know, that you did those with foam or polystyrene card.
Mostly with pool noodles. You know, the foam that you use in a swimming pool.
Oh yeah,
Noodles chopped.
yeah. Right, because again, that's nice and light, isn't it? And if you've got people with
Needed
things
to be light to be on there.
it worked tremendously well. Yeah, I would definitely think Veriform. So we've looked at wire, and we've looked at wax, and we've looked at clay, we've looked at Veriform, we've looked at ideas of falling and gravity. I feel as though, has anybody got any questions about any of?
Christine's got a question. She wants to know, have you got a dried sculpture with you there that's finished, so she can look at and see what she's aiming for?
Or using which? The
air dried clay.
Oh, no, not the air dried clay. That's ordinary clay, but that you can do the same. But you that doesn't require the armature, because she's really got a close base, you know, like we were saying about the piece of wood. Anything that's closer to the floor you can get away with. It's the moment that you know you've got to, but you can do that with air dried clay, and then apply when she's dry, apply the hardener, layers and layers of hardener. So yeah. Okay.
Is that okay, Christine? Yes, I've got a thumbs up. Yes.
Lovely.
Are you done, Carol?
I think so. I mean, I'll natter on all day otherwise. I think Anne-Marie wants to say something.
If
going to come round?
she'll come round, oh, the dismembered head. If any of you want to have a go at doing any of the things that Carol has shown us, you know, from any of the materials, or you've got different ways of working yourself, please take a photo, put it on the Facebook page so that we can see. And also, if you've got any more questions regarding these things, Carol will be keeping a check on that Facebook page. So if there's something you needed to know, hopefully Carol will be able to answer it on that as well. But any pictures of anything creative that you're doing at the moment, or just a comment or whatever you want to do, pop it on the Facebook page. And then the other thing is, I've put all of the links to the things that Carol has mentioned on the Facebook page. So it's creativity after C19. We couldn't put the word COVID, there was an issue with it. So it's creativity after C19. If you're not on it already, take time to just search it. Also on Instagram as well, Mandy, is that correct? Yeah, you're on mute, but yes, yeah, on Instagram as well, and YouTube as well. Okay. Ta-da.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Okay, so I think that's it for today, folks. As I say, as Anne-Marie says, everything will be on the Facebook page and a YouTube video if you need to go over anything and really visit anything. And we have to mention the Arts Council for supporting this project. So we thank them. Yeah, that's it. And our next project is next week on the 14th, which will be with Sal Tonge, who will be doing a bit of a chat and then an excerpt from her play, a hilarious play called Jabs, which is about her life as a vaccination, the COVID vaccination giver. She found inspiration from that somehow. So I hope you can all join us for that. You'll find the link for that on the website as well. I'm sorry, on the Facebook page and the Instagram page. Okay.
Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, folks.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.